Welcome back. Are you serious? Compared to how much I hurt Mion, this is nothing, right? Do as much as you want. In exchange, promise me 2 things. Mion was silent. She did, however, wait for me to speak. After you're satisfied with causing me pain, forgive Shion. She's been punished enough to make up for her crime of sneaking into the storehouse, hasn't she? You, after all this, you can still worry about Shion more than yourself. The other thing is that when you've had your fill, you disappear. Give that body back to Mion. That's all. You know, are you not even considering possibly begging for your life or anything? Can I ask you to promise 3 things instead of 2? I mean, he's kind of pushing it now. The third is to leave me alive. Ah ha 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 ha. You said 2 in the beginning, didn't you? So you can't have any more. That's a shame. Indeed. In such an abnormal situation, Mion and I laughed quietly together, as if sharing in a stupid joke. These things happen. I probably won't keep these promises, understand? I'm a demon after all. I guess there's nothing I can do then. I recall tightening my hands into fists when enduring the pain at the dentist's office. Right now, though, they were opened all the way to my fingertips, so I couldn't even grip them. So instead, I tightened my toes. Okay, do it. Do it. I've prepared myself already, so do it. You waiting like this to hammer the nails in is scarier. It's going to diminish my readiness after all. Mion put down the hammer and, gently stroked my cheek. Thanks for making it weird. Kei-chan, I'll agree to just the 3rd thing, okay? Huh? My 3rd wish? To save me. She'll agree to it. Your 1st wish, to save Shion. That's long done for. The demon will kill her. It's already been decided, so I can't stop it. So give up on that. Her delicate fingers slid from my cheek to my chin. Thanks for making it weirder. As for your 2nd wish, to give this body back to Mion. That won't happen either. After today, Mion will never come back. From today on, even if my body is here, it will be just a body. Because the Oni has taken it over. That isn't true. Mion is Mion. Don't say such sad things like that. Like that she won't ever come back. Can you hear it? That sound? Mion gently closed her eyes and listened. I definitely heard it as well. Slam. Slam. It was a dull noise that repeated at fixed intervals. A low noise accompanied by vibrations. A lot of people were ramming the iron doors to this underground ritual storehouse. You're late, so Nena probably called Oishi. That spaced out girl being so quick thinking was the one thing I didn't anticipate. I'll agree with you there. I mean, they're being just a little rude to Nena right now. Mion grinned like she'd been outwitted, then took something that looked like an electric razor out of her pocket. When she pressed the switch, pale blue sparks flew out with a snapping noise. You've probably never seen one before, right? It's a real stun gun. It's illegal, and its output has been increased quite a bit. Oh, fair enough. Was that what you hit me with before? That's not a toy children should be playing with, you know. You're right. She seemed to want to use the stun gun on me. I mean, understandable. Unable to move, I felt her press the cool lump of metal to my neck. Slam! I heard a roar as though they'd broken down the first large door. The halls were a bit complex, but aside from the door to this very torture chamber, there was nothing in their way. I won't kill you, but I will have you go to sleep for a bit, Kei-chan. Oishi will be here soon. This will only hurt a bit. Feeling the same shock as before, gritting my teeth wasn't going to help much, but I clenched them tightly anyway. However, Just as she did when she was about to hammer the nails in, she hesitated a little. I cracked open my tightly closed eyelids. I'm sorry for disgracing Mion. I made a promise before coming in here. Whatever happens, the Mion inside my heart won't change. Look, forget about that. If you ever see me after today, don't come near me. By then, it will be the demon that inherited my corpse. Well, that's a bit rough. What are you talking about? Just as I tried to say that, a much stronger light than before shined, and like a television being switched off, my consciousness went black. Zzz. Whoop, Twisted Sisters learn the truth. June 1983. A string of disappearances occurred in Hinamizawa. Hello, I'm reading. The suspect is Mion Sonozaki, 1x years old. She is suspected to have kidnapped 5 Hinamizawa residents between June 19 and June 21. Audio. Shion, Kiichiro Kimiyoshi, Rika Furude, and Satoko Hojo imprisoned them and killed them. Preliminary investigations on the incident were delayed at the time due to insufficient evidence, but it was resolved coincidentally and shockingly. On the morning of the 23rd, a vehicle patrolling the Sonozaki property heard screams from inside and rushed in as an emergency measure. They secured the suspect's missing younger sister, Shion, and her 2 missing classmates, Keiichi and Nena. The suspect fled the scene. Deep in the detached basement of the Sonozaki property, which is believed to have been used to kill those who disappeared, we discovered hair, flakes of skin, blood, etc. of the other 4 missing persons, Audio, Kiichiro, Rika, and Satoko. We concluded that the missing persons were tortured in the torture chamber. However, their remains have still not been found. At one of her imprisoned classmates' advice, we continued searching the detached basement of the Sonozaki property, which was where they were imprisoned, believing that they were there. However, we still have not located them or the suspect's escape route. In addition, investigations are continuing as to her participation in the serial freak death incidents of recent years, thinking it would give some clue. But no evidence that Mion Sonozaki was involved, either directly or indirectly, has been found. There are still many unclear points as to the motive behind the incident, and as those of the Sonozaki family and the residents of Hinamizawa have been extremely uncooperative in assisting us, we expect to require a long time to clarify them. I wish they'd give us longer to read these. The opinion of the local officer knowledgeable about the region is that this may have been a lynching, an internal form of punishing sacrilegious acts carried out against the beliefs of the Hinamizawa village. It is clear that these incidents are particularly rooted in this region, and the prefectural police department has ordered a cautious investigation. We anticipated gaining valuable clues from the missing person believed to have been in prison for the longest time, Shion Sonozaki, the suspect's younger sister. But her mind was stricken by the grave after effects of the incident, and she has been in a state of mind to properly answer any questions about what she knows. The psychiatrist concluded that she's in a temporary state of shock, but it doesn't seem hopeful that she will recover today either. That would mess a person up. Only a few days passed since that time. Oh, I can read at my own pace again. After that, I was rescued by Oishi-san and his subordinates whom Nena had called in. Aside from my entirely blank state of mind, I had no external injuries. The most I had was the small burn mark from where the stun gun hit me. As I was having a checkup in the hospital, Oishi-san asked me all sorts of things, but I don't really remember what he asked or how I answered him. From what I heard, surprisingly, Mion still hadn't been captured. There were apparently a great many hallways and smaller rooms extending out from the depths of the prison. It wouldn't be strange if she had fled to one of those and hidden herself. The one fortunate aspect amidst all the misfortune was that Shion had been safely secured by the police. When I last saw Mion, she seemed like she was going to take me with her and then kill me. She probably didn't have enough time to though, since Oishi-san came running in faster than she predicted. That was the only real fortunate thing to have happened. Of course, the rescued Shion, despite having no external wounds, now had a big, deep wound in her heart. She was in a severe state of confusion when they rescued her, and apparently she bit the police officers trying to resist. Understandable. From what he heard, she was seeing Mion in everyone she saw, hated not only the hospital but even her own home, and had shut herself up somewhere in Shishibone, hiding her location. Additionally, in fear that Mion would come for her, she was moving from place to place every day, and even her parents weren't sure where she actually was. Wherever she was living, even now, Shion was spending her days in fear of Mion's shadow. The police were investigating the Sonozaki's underground storehouse at this moment. since they couldn't find the remains of the other sacrifices. Hadn't Mion thrown the corpses into a well? I had a feeling I'd said that to him. That meant a hidden tunnel, vertical like a well, was somewhere in those underground passages. The secret underground without any maps or architectural drawings, which had swallowed up the remains of Rika-chan, Satoko, and everyone else, was still unwilling to speak the truth. I was brought back to that basement again too, for an on-the-site inspection or something. But I didn't remember being of any help. I never wanted to go back there again. For days afterward, the Sonozakis, living in Okinomiya, in other words, Mion and Shion's parents, the big-name Yakuza, would come to our house to apologize, bringing many of their followers with them. However much my parents refused it, they piled up many 100,000 yen bills, calling it consolation money every day. The amount of money grew each day, and after it had passed 2 million yen, they were then given an envelope containing a letter. I don't know what was written in the letter. My parents talked about it by themselves for 2 whole nights, and decided to move away. Probably a good idea. I see. You're moving, huh? When? At the end of next month. I won't even have been in Hinamizawa for half a year. I'll be lonely. I'm the only one left. Aww. That's actually sad. Lena smiled sadly. If I had just said, yeah, I thought it would make her even more lonely, so I changed the subject. Here's something to think about. That's how I broached it. Mion hadn't actually fled, but had been demoned away in the truest sense of the term. Where she went after she disappeared, that we didn't know. What was there? Where she had disappeared to? I hoped there was a hobby shop dealing in imports, the kind Mion liked. In that place she would definitely be free from the burdensome fetters of her family, and live not as Mion Sonozaki, but as just Mion, and enjoy herself. Maybe she's already met up with Satoko and Rika-chan. They must also have been waiting for the day Lena and I would join them, spending all their time doing club activities, as lively as they always were. When I told Lena that, she smiled and nodded to me. The incidents the Sonozaki family had been trying so hard to hide, too, were exposed to the magazines from this single tiny seam. The serial incidents of recent years were all pulled up like a long vine in the ground, one by one, and for many days news of it was brought up on talk and variety shows. The shows, which were comedic and silly, never once tried to touch upon the grim, heavy history that Mion had been bearing. It made me mad to see them bringing this stuff up in jest, but there was nothing I could do about it now. How big an impression would these short few weeks I spent in Hinamizawa have on my life? During these few weeks I met my best friends and had the best experiences of my life. I would probably never forget it for as long as I lived. As for the distorted image of Mion that the media created, after the masses got tired of treating her like a plaything, they would ball her up, throw her in the trash, and then she would fade from their memories. As one of the few people who knew the real Mion, I must always make sure I remember her. Beyond any doubt, that will surely become my offering to her. The sky reached so far up, and towering cumulonimbus, yes, that word, clouds floated through it, exactly. The real summer was just before our eyes. Even now, whenever 10 p.m. came around, I would expect a phone call from Shion, or Mion, rather. Now that everything was over, of course, she would never call me. But it was precisely because she wouldn't call me that I was scared of who would call me this time. Plus, Mion still hadn't been caught. I couldn't say for sure that everything was completely over. Dun, dun, dun. On the other side of that fear, though, were my prayers that Mion was safe. When I thought like that, I was able to sleep, even with such terrifying thoughts. The lights were off. Before, her attacking when the lights were off was something that scared me. However, that feeling changed to regret within 2 days. The moonlight filtering through the gap in the curtains shone onto the desk and illuminated a doll. That's right, the doll that I should have given to Mion that day. She said it was an import from England or something and was all the rage, didn't she? From what Shion said, the most popular among them were the ones wearing the fluffy dress. After being released from the incident, the first place I went to was that toy store. Everything was apparently sold out besides the things on the storefront displays. I was refused once when they said they wouldn't sell the display products, but when they realized I was Survivor A from that incident, they immediately consented. Of course, even if I bought it, I might never have the chance to give it to her again. Even knowing that, I waited for the opportunity to give it to her. I waited like this, for the opportunity, with it on the desk, so I could give it to her at any time. Plonk. There was a weird noise. It was a noise I wasn't used to hearing. It was too big to be raindrops, and it was completely different from the sound lost bugs make when they ram into fluorescent lights. I figured I must have misheard and nestled back into my futon. Plonk. The noise happened again. I wasn't hearing things. I definitely heard it. Where was it coming from? I got up and turned on the light. If there was a second, there would be a third. From where, though? I listened carefully. Plonk. The window. Some sort of pebbles were colliding with my window. When I realized they weren't being blown there by the wind, but rather being thrown by a person, I gave a start. I looked at the clock. It was 2 a.m. Who would it be at a time like this? I quietly peek out the front, through the gap in the curtains. In the light at the gate, despite it being so late, I saw someone. They picked up a piece of gravel and threw it at this window. It hit the window and made a plonking noise. Who was it? Ah! I caught my breath in surprise. If my eyes weren't deceiving me, that person was Mion. I threw open the window and looked at the figure again. My eyes certainly weren't deceiving me. It was Mion. It was Mion. She was alive. Mion pressed her index finger to her lips and made the shh motion so I wouldn't shout. If she hadn't, well, I was nearly about to cry out. Mion was in a very delicate position right now. Even if it was the middle of the night, I shouldn't call out her name. I waved to her, gesturing that I'd be right over, flung on my coat atop my pajamas and flew out the door. I quickly hit the brakes just before going down the stairs. All thought happiness was sprouting within me. I had the sad feeling that this would be our final parting. All thought happiness. So I went back to my room again and grabbed the doll. If there was a God, I don't think I would have ever thanked him as much as today. Even if it would be the last time we ever saw each other, I was so grateful for this one chance to give it to her. I slipped into my sandals, unlocked the door, unhooked the chain, and leapt out of the house. Mion. It's been a while. How are you? Been doing all right? It was like how we used to meet every morning. Mion waved to me and responded like she always did. It was doubtlessly Mion. It was the real Mion. Are you all right hanging around this place? I really shouldn't be. She certainly wasn't acting like she knew the police were following her. It was almost like she was a patient who had gotten tired of staying in the hospital and snuck out. Her speech was relaxed enough to make me think that, and I couldn't help but be surprised. That relaxation, I thought, was more like Mion, and I was happy for it. Anyway, what's wrong? What do you need at this hour? I wanted to talk to you one last time. That was when I noticed them. On Mion's forehead were big droplets of sweat. Her expression too, which I had thought to be a satisfied smile, was upon closer inspection trembling slightly, and I realized that she was forcing it. Well, I can't stay for any longer. A pained note was beginning to enter her words as well, as if just smiling was a feat for her. Are you all right? Are you not feeling well? I tried so hard until now, but I can tell. I'm done. This is my limit. They're about to come up behind me to take me away. Mion's smile crumbled and started to stiffen. Did she push herself this much to come all this way for me? Her laughter cut off and changed into rough breathing. I reached out to rub her back, but she knocked me away. Are you okay? Don't force yourself. Oh, that's right. I had something to give you, Mion. This doll. I had wanted to do this one last thing because I knew how little time you had left. But this last thing, Get shanked! Gah. Gah. My stomach is burning. Mion took a meat cleaver-like knife and stabbed me. That sounds painful. And pushed it in tight and took it and twisted it. Mion? Hey, it hurts. I made it. I cowered on the ground. My stomach was so hot, it was almost spewing fire. What is this novel's obsession with describing things as hot? Mion watched it, then took a few steps back and cackled. I've done it. I've done it all. That's everyone I wanted to kill. The last words Mion left me with that day came back to me. After today, Mion will never come back. From today on, even if my body is here, a body is all it will be. By then, the demon will have taken it over. The demon. The demon. The demon. Me. On. This can't. I thought we had finally been able to meet. This can't. Mion. In a pool of blood of my own design is the doll I bought for Mion, dyed in red, so red. Mion. The good fortune of having been allowed to meet Mion once more, and the misfortune of that meeting being torn apart before my eyes. Should I be grateful or curse it? My emotions were neither of those, as my consciousness sunk deep into a black swamp. The doll I bought for Mion, the blood, had ruined it. No matter how I scrubbed and scrubbed, it had needlessly been ruined. Ruined. The sad moon was so white it looked frozen. June 28, 1983. A violent incident occurred in Hinamizawa village, Shishibone City, XX Prefecture. The victim was Keiichi Maebara, also a victim of the previous string of disappearances. At around 2 a.m. he was stabbed in the stomach with a bladed object by the suspect of the last case, Mion Sonozaki, and was gravely wounded. He was discovered when his parents woke up and was then transported to the clinic. He escaped death. The criminal fled the scene. On the same day, at approximately the same time, a fall accident occurred at the Kamishiki apartment complex in Shishibone City, XX Prefecture. The victim was Shion Sonozaki, also a victim of the previous string of disappearances. Late on the same night, neighbors overheard her having a big fight with someone and informed the manager. The manager used a master key to enter the room and discovered that the victim had fallen from her 8th floor balcony to her death. Oh. The room had been torn apart and appeared to show traces of a fight. One neighbor has frequently visited the Sonozaki house for a long time and testified that he heard what sounded just like the two sisters having a fight, trading insults back and forth. We believe this was related to the injury case that occurred the same day in Hinamizawa village, perpetrated by said incident suspect, and did a thorough search of the room, but we could not find any traces that would imply that anyone but the victim was present. The victim fell straight down into the foliage of a parking strip. Her neck broke, and she died immediately. Her clothing was disheveled and had markings that would imply a scuffle. We also believe, however, that it could have been an insanity-induced suicide attempt based on the particular mental state of the victim after the incident. We are conducting a thorough examination on both fronts. Oh. Wait, that's it? Not it. Only for 5 minutes, understand? Please try not to excite him. Yes, I'll be careful. Ka-clack. The door opened and, as I expected, Oishi-san came in. Hello, Mayabara-san. It's been a while, hasn't it? Tell me, how have you been since then? The doctor says my post-operative recovery seems to be going smoothly, but I think I got worse when I saw your face. Rude. You wound me. As Oishi-san gave a laugh that smelled of sweat. I'm sorry, what? On what planet is that an acceptable sentence? A laugh that smelled of sweat. Excuse me? He handed Mum a bag of assorted candies he must have purchased from the souvenir corner on the first floor of the hospital. Excuse me, Mrs. Mayabara. Would it be possible for me to talk to Keiichi-kun for just a few moments? Mum clearly wasn't pleased at the thought of a police officer talking to her son without her there. However, I insisted. Mum, sorry, just a little while, just 5 minutes, okay? Though grudgingly, Mum left the room. When she closed the door, Oishi-san grinned widely and looked around the room. A room to yourself, how high class. My old lady always gets a shared room, you know. It is quite lively, however. Seems like you're of a higher rank if you have a worse disease in places like that. The sicker you are, the prouder you are, or maybe the more arrogant. I'm sorry, Oishi, that is one of the worst word salads I've ever seen. Oishi-san, we only have 5 minutes. I would like it if these were the last 5 minutes we ever saw each other. I don't have any connection to Hinamizawa anymore, and this isn't in Hinamizawa anymore either. Yes, because there aren't any general hospitals in Okinomiya. Mind if I take a seat? Down we go. This was a large university hospital in Shishibone City. It was splendidly urban, entirely different from the likes of Hinamizawa and Okinomiya. It was hard to believe Hinamizawa was part of the same city. When does it look like you'll get transferred? Dunno. I'm ready to go whenever though. Our moving plans were delayed a little because of my serious injury. My parents had already left the house in Hinamizawa though and were living in our new one. They planned to have me transfer hospitals to be closer to the new house once I'd recovered enough to be taken there. Please don't come to where I'm transferring. I really will get worse then. Man, you really do hate me. It may just be my job, but that stings. That's why I brought you all kinds of lovely souvenirs in atonement. You didn't need to bring an assortment of cookies for that. Well, you see, there aren't actually cookies in there. Look. Oishi-san pulls open the can of cookies and... Noir? Ow, I'm stretching my scar. I didn't know what you were into, Mayabara-san, so I brought all sorts of things. See? All sorts of cute-looking ones, from westerns to comic strips. Lately, they have this sort of H manga aimed at girls, too. Really? Don't bring porn in here. Take them away and go home. Ow. I thought for sure a healthy young person like you would be feeling a little needy, being cooped up in a place like this for so long. Thanks for making it weird again. If you stay here too long, the only fetish you'll end up with is a nurse one, you know? There are plenty of other beautiful things in this world besides nurses, after all. It just keeps getting weirder. Don't decide what to major in now. Keep your options open. You need to be a more all-around type of person. I gave Oishi-san's vulgar laugh a pained grin. Somehow or another, I understood. The fact that Oishi-san was bringing it up like this meant that he must have had something important to talk about. The incident with Shion-san really was unfortunate. The night I was stabbed by Mion, Shion fell from her balcony and died. They said the police were investigating all possibilities, accident, suicide and homicide, but it could only have been Mion's doing. Mion found out where Shion was hiding and pushed her down to her death. Nothing else was conceivable. It couldn't have been an accident. It was Mion. It had to be. The criminology guys are saying it had to be a suicide, but I'm of the same opinion of you, Mayabara-san. She pushed Shion-san and also stabbed you. In one night. Has Mion still not been found? Oh, that's right. That's what I came here to tell you today. Yes, we actually did find her. What? Ow, ow, ow. Learning that felt rather strange to me. I was partly relieved that the incident was truly over, and I was partly sorry that my best friend had finally been caught. I felt many other things too. My heart was a maze of emotions. That's not all. In the Sonozaki House catacombs, we found a hidden well. Just as you said, Mayabara-san, we found the remains of all those who disappeared at the bottom. I see. That sliver of hope, that possibility I'd believed in, that Rika-chan and Satoko were alive, just from the fact their remains hadn't been found. Gone. It was incredibly well hidden in those catacombs. I mean, it was in the blind spot of another blind spot. It was a vertical tunnel dug out like a well. There was a ladder set up there, and when we went all the way down, there was another tunnel built there going through it. When we followed it a few hundred meters, we found ourselves at the mouth of an old unused well in the mountains. I wonder if it was a secret escape route a previous Sonozaki family leader built. Probably was. Maybe it was made in the Meiji era. Still, I'm impressed they built something like that. So everyone's remains were at the bottom. Yes, even deeper down than the escape path, there was a pool of coal tar. They'd been casually thrown in there. They had fallen from a fairly high spot, so their remains were totally buried in it. It took a lot of time and effort to pull their bodies up. Did you find them all? I hoped that they at least wouldn't find Rika-chan or Satoko. That's what I wished for when I asked, but my shallow hope was crushed in the blink of an eye. Yes, all of them. In fact, we also found human bones we think are over a decade old. We think there are at least 3 people. I suppose it's the dark side of Hinamizawa's history. I wonder how many people's bones we'll find when we've sucked out all the mud. It's a scary thought. That weight had been pushing down on Mion's shoulders the whole time. Mion. We've currently identified people who disappeared from Shishibone City decades ago. People are talking about how this opportunity might let us resolve the disappearing persons cases that have been abandoned. After a deep silence, he breathed a heavy sigh. Oishi-san went for his cigarettes to pass the time, but realized this was a non-smoking area, so he gave up and put them back in his shirt pocket. Oh, right. This is a bit of a detour. But you know Rika Furude-san, right? Of course, she's my friend. Did she ever tell you anything along the lines of her regularly taking insulin injections for diabetes? She did not. Rika-chan has diabetes. I didn't know what he was talking about. Actually, we found it in her skirt pocket. A syringe. It was destroyed though, so we couldn't identify the medicine. It was a bit out of place, so I got interested. You really don't know anything? I didn't know anything about Rika-chan carrying syringes around with her. The Sonozaki family corporates, the Yakuza people. Anyway, there's rumors that they deal in psychostimulants. I was thinking that might have something to do with it too. Are you trying to tell me that Rika-chan is a drug addict? No, not at all. That isn't what I'm saying. It just seems strange, however you look at it, that she would bring a syringe with her on her way to get soy sauce. I have no idea what any of this means. My eyes are spinning. I feel sick. Are you all right? Should I call a nurse? I'm fine. Please continue. Well, that's all I had to say about the syringe. It was the only thing that personally struck me as interesting. Rika-chan. Rika-san was sort of like the village mascot after all. It looks like the village is in an uproar right now. Between the older blind believers and the Sonozaki family who killed her, the three families' effective control over the village is basically in shambles too. If someone came up to them with talk of a dam again, with this sort of timing, the entire village would be abandoned for sure this time. I'm not related to Hinamizawa anymore. I actually was. I just said it because the thought of Hinamizawa being abandoned was unpleasant, and I wanted to end the conversation quickly. There was a knock at the door. It opened slightly, and my mum asked if we were still talking. Whoops! We went off topic, didn't we? What a pickle. I looked at the clock. 5 minutes were long past. He told my mother that there was something he really wanted to ask and if she could wait a little bit longer. Is that so? Keep it short, okay? There wasn't any getting around the fact that she was thinking about what a police officer could be talking to her son about. Maybe we should choose another day for this. Oishi-san. Mion, how is she right now? I wanted to just hear that answer and then get rid of him. Before I tell you that, I just need one thing from you. I just need you to answer something in all honesty. What is it? I want you to take your answer seriously, got it? If you say something indiscreet, it could be viewed as an obstruction of the investigation and you could be prosecuted. Oishi-san kept threatening me until the end. What the hell did he want? Maebara-san, who do you think the criminal was who pushed Shion from the balcony? There's no way it could be anyone but Mion, is there? Then who was the one who stabbed you? Please don't make me say it again. It was Mion. Mion Sonozaki. Oishi-san smiled bitterly, then dabbed at his forehead with a handkerchief to wipe his sweat. He should have expected that answer, and yet it looked as though he wasn't satisfied with it. She pushed Shion and stabbed me. Didn't you just admit yourself that Mion was the criminal? The evidence we have that Mion killed Shion is based on testimony from the man living next door. This neighbor is actually a member of an organized crime group. In other words, he was Shion-san's bodyguard. It seems he's a veteran leader in that vein and was like a parent to the Sonozaki sisters growing up. That man said this. The noise he heard from next door was just like the sound of a fight between the sisters that he was used to hearing when they still lived together. And no, there was no doubt about it. He said he heard Mion and Shion insulting each other and heard them struggling. At first, though, he thought it was a hallucination she was having brought on by her dementia. You see, he thought that because that sort of ruckus had been occurring every night. However, that night had been longer than the rest, and he claimed that he went to her room to give her a sedative. The noise died down while he got the manager to give him the key. He'd already decided he'd at least check up on her, and after she wasn't answering his calls, they took the plunge and unlocked the door. Then they saw the room was a mess. Since Shion had been pushed over the balcony, they decided it had to have been Mion. And that's how it happened. In other words, he only heard from the other side of the wall. Plus, because the apartment complex is connected to their organization, it doesn't have many residents. So they were the only ones who heard it happening. To reiterate, there was only one person who witnessed Mion Sonozaki. Even if he didn't see her, isn't it obviously Mion's doing? Now settle down. This is what I'm saying. It means you are the only one who saw Mion Sonozaki for sure last night. After all, Shion-san, the other witness, is no longer alive. What are you trying to say? I don't really understand. At that point, Oishi-san paused. The fact that this was a no-smoking area completely slipped his mind, and he took out his pack of cigarettes again. Kerchak! He lit one with his lighter, and exhaled a long stream of tobacco smoke. Were you really stabbed by Mion Sonozaki? Yes. There's no doubt about it. The smoke Oishi-san breathed out floated away, like a thundercloud swept away by the wind. Oishi-san, you can't smoke in here. The nurses will get mad. Actually, we found Mion Sonozaki at the bottom of the well too. Nani? What? Same. She fell to her death. We believe that as she was trying to escape to that hidden passage in the well, her foot slipped while climbing down the ladder. She fell to the bottom, broke her neck, and died. Yes, the same way as Shion-san. She broke her neck. Well, what? Exactly. After you passed out that day, Mion Sonozaki tried to escape using the hidden well, but her foot slipped and she died. As if beckoned by the corpses of the other sacrifices, she dropped down there. But that doesn't make any sense, does it? The autopsy came to the conclusion that she definitely died on that day. She didn't go back there after attacking you and Shion-san. She was already dead by then. Dun, dun, dun. My jaw was on the floor. There was absolutely no way that could be. Mion was the one who stabbed me. It had to have been her. There wouldn't have been anyone else to do it. Then, who attacked Shion and me? Who was it? The one who attacked you was someone who was Mion Sonozaki and yet not Mion Sonozaki. My mind had become a complete mess and I was starting to lose my ability to think straight. Do you remember how Mio Takano-san died? Eh? Takano-san? Ah, yes. I think I heard that she was burned to death in some distant mountains. We learned that she was burned after being strangled to death. The Gifu station did the autopsy. It's a little bit strange. The results of the preliminary autopsy said that she had been dead for at least 24 hours. Since that was contradictory, in their panic they seem to have revised it to say she died earlier that day. Despite me being an absolute wreck over what was going on with Mion, he was telling me there was even more on top of that. I didn't understand the complex things Oishi-san was telling me. The result saying she had been dead for 24 hours, as our own criminologist says, is pretty damn reliable. So then, what would that mean? I've asked that question over and over. But on the night of Watanagashi, you were with Mio Takano-san, weren't you? I was. You also met her on the day before, while setting up for the festival, right? I mean, I ran into her too. Yes, I was with her then. If she'd been dead for 24 hours, then that would mean she was already dead the day before the festival. Dun, dun, dun. Haha, that can't be. She was alive during the festival preparations. However, when you all slipped into the ritual storehouse, Takano-san was already dead. The origin of all that happened, the beginning of everything, our intrusion into the ritual storehouse which I had come to regret countless times, the one who tempted me, Takano-san. When she invited us into the storehouse, she was already no longer of this world. Oh, that's creepy. There are too many dead people walking around in this incident. An incident caused by a dead person and ended by a dead person. Also, apparently they're under pressure to revise the time of Mion Sonozaki's death not to the day of the incident, but right after she stabbed you. Probably pressure from the outside to get this incident wrapped up already. So I'd appreciate it if you didn't say a word about this to anyone. Oishi-san grabbed his jacket that was hanging on the chair, put out his cigarette with the bottom of his foot, and started pretending to wave away the smoke floating around. I've stayed too long. I had come here thinking I could at least end this incident as it applied to you, but it looks like it got even more baffling instead. Absent-mindedly, he walked towards the door, looking at me, unable to speak, out of the corner of his eye. If it so happens that something comes up that you want to talk about in the future, call me anytime. My business card is in those souvenirs from before. When that time comes, I'll pay you a visit with some wonderful souvenirs again. Oishi-san seemed to think I was still hiding something. That I, after all this, would be hiding something. I'm the one things are being hidden from. I'm the one who wants to know. Then let us meet again one day. Take care of yourself. Slam. I listened to the tap 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 of Oishi-san walking down the hallway. I still couldn't return from my state of bewilderment. He wanted to end this incident as it applied to me. What was over? Nothing was over. The incident was still continuing. Then, slip, an arm covered in fresh blood came out from underneath the bed. I wasn't that surprised. This was an illusion I was seeing, seized with fear. Kei-chan, I told you, remember. I heard a guttural voice coming from under the bed. I still recognized it as Mion's voice. What, Mion? What did you tell me? I warned you on that day. After today, if you see me, it will be the demon that has possessed my body. You did. You said that, didn't you? Sorry. Guess I wasn't careful enough. That's why I got stabbed. Get shanked? Possibly wounds sustained when she fell from the ladder. Many of her fingernails were broken and torn. Her arms slowly felt about on top of the bed, searching for mine. Oh, hey, Mion, I just, thought of a good joke. Want to hear it? The Mion under the bed didn't answer. Let's say that I died here today, but tomorrow I'd still be here, living a normal life. So when Oishi-san learned about it afterwards, the time of death wouldn't make sense once again. He'd make a huge deal about how someone who should have died was alive, and he'd totally lose his head. Takano-san, then Mion, and then me third. So, funny, right? Makes you laugh, doesn't it? Kei-chan. Laugh. Or was it not that funny? Mion's blood-stained hand groped around and found my wrist. Though her fingernails were torn, she gripped it hard as if scratching me. Ow, go easy. Ow, it hurts. Kei-chan, I've come for you. I tried to shake my wrist loose, but the strength she held it with was unbelievable, and I couldn't. She was only gripping one wrist, and yet my whole body wouldn't move. I couldn't even twitch. My fingers were spread apart, and I couldn't make a fist either. And that fact that I couldn't make a fist reminded me of the restraining table. I felt a crooked nail press against my left pinky fingertip. Mion's forehead was split open, and with a face covered in blood, she smiled and got right up in front of my nose. Nothing was over. Nothing was over. This incident was far from being over. It was still going on. It was still happening. Someone, please end this incident. This cruel, tragic, unfortunate, sad incident. Please end it. That is my only wish. I granted you one before, remember? You don't get any more. Mion firmly held the nail down on my fingertip, and with her other hand, she slowly swung a mallet up into the air and... Now that's an ending. Oh, we do have the all-cast review session again. All right, well, after all these years, it certainly feels that way. That's the end of Watanagashi, the last nail. We got the trophy. Well, what did you guys think of this one? It certainly took a while this time. It felt a little longer than the first one. I don't know, maybe that's just me. But Watanagashi, I really liked this one. I have vague memories of all of these chapters from way back in the day when I used to watch the anime and I read some of the books and such. But this is my first time going through the visual novels, which are much, much longer. Oh boy. I really like the ending of this one. Like, this whole final episode here is just full of really good bits. I like all the chilling reveals that so-and-so was already dead when this happened, and so-and-so was already dead when this happened. That's some good stuff. But what did you guys think about this one? Let me know in the comments below. This chapter as a whole. What did you think of it? What did you like? What did you dislike? As usual, I disliked all of the incredible waffling, word salads, weirdly phrased things. Like, this could use some heavy editing to bring it down to like half the time, and it would make it so much better. But the actual horror aspects of these I really, really enjoy. It's just unfortunate they're brought down by the other stuff. Anyway, next week, come back. We'll be playing, hopefully, a much shorter, different visual novel. We'll be leaving Higurashi again for a while, because, these take forever. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed Watanagashi-hen. I'll see you guys again next week. See ya.